back once again, and we're talking about, we've been talking about Google and their plans to enter the TV world, and, definitely the internet TV world anyway, and definitely I think they have a good chance. So switching gears to one of Google's major competitors, which is Apple, according to various reports, looks like Apple may be delaying. That's one piece of news, that Apple may be delaying their next gen iPhone 5S, but also the iPhone production kicks into gear for their mid-tier phone. Let's talk about that report first from All Things D. All Things D, or All Things Digital, they are reporting that Apple is ramping up production, which could mean a mid-tier iPhone could be in the works. They're saying Apple is ramping up production in its next-gen iPhone ahead of the expected fall introduction that could include a second lower-cost version of the device, according to All Things D. Now, there's the latest from the Jefferies analyst Peter Misek, whose channel checks suggest that Apple's manufacturing partners will begin pumping out the iPhone 5S later this month. So they're saying, but another report says that this thing is delayed. Now, sources familiar with the company's plans say that this is indeed the case. And interestingly, Misek said the iPhone production ramp-up will follow one that's already underway for Apple's long-rumored lower-cost iPhone, a device he figures the company will price somewhere between $300 and $400 without subsidy. He estimates production plans at 25 to 30 million units, split pretty much evenly across the 5S and the newer low-cost siblings that iPhone is coming out with. He said that the new entry probably won't be competitive with the truly low-end handsets popular in emerging markets, which is an interesting theory. There isn't much room there to be used to be in the upper or lower reaches of the smartphone market, but there's plenty of room of growth in the middle, which is where they're saying Apple is focusing, and that's a portion of the market that Apple has targeted with the mid-tier products to great effort in the past. The iPod Nano, iPad Mini were those devices. When those devices launched, they were dismissed as too expensive to attract the budget-conscious consumer, but they both proved wildly popular, establishing a new mid-end price band between the market's high and low end. Now, the key to success, both were aspirational products that drew typical budget-conscious consumers into the higher price range. So, will Apple be successful with this new mid-range iPhone situation? Definitely, I think when it comes to Apple, any kind of product, and that's the thing with Apple, with their ecosystem that they've built up. Their ecosystem supports them no matter what. And so when we're talking about Apple, being able to come out with a product and have consumers be interested in it, definitely they have that ability to come out with products and have their consumers interested. So I believe Apple will create that new mid-range, even though mid-range phones have been around for a while, but not very many people come out with good mid-range phones. Most people come out with a high-end phone, and then they come out with a budget phone. They don't usually come out with a mid-range phone as well, and this is where Apple is targeting. Now, will their new iPhone, the mid-range, be successful? I think it's going to depend on a couple of things. It's going to depend on the price. They're saying $300 to $400 if you just want to buy the thing outright, $300 to $400. That's a good mid-range price, $300 to $400, with the Samsung Galaxy S topping out at $650, $700, depending on the version you get, even more with the iPhone topping out at high prices like that. This $300 to $400 price range could be a good mid-range. The lower end phones are like $99, $49, but they're low end. So it's going to depend on price. which $300 is a good price point if they can go there. But it's also going to depend on the capabilities of the phone and the apps that will be able to run on that phone. Just like with Windows RT, last week we talked about Microsoft decreasing or reducing the price of their Surface RT tablets, which we know those tablets were way high. It started at $449. They dropped $100 off it, so it's still $349. But the problem with Windows RT is that the programming, it's not a true Windows tablet because you can't run Windows applications on it like you can with Microsoft Surface Pro or any Windows 8 computer or tablet or anything like that. You have to run programs written specifically for RT, which not many people are doing, and just the limited functionality of it is what just people don't want to spend $500 and get a tablet that's so limited in functionality. So when they drop the price to $349 and then with the keyboard it's still back up to $449, almost $500, I just don't see this thing selling because they just don't have it dropped low enough for the consumer. So this is their mid-range pricing for the RT, and RT was supposed to be their mid-range type tablet, but the reason why it hasn't sold is because the application for it is just not there. The functionality for it is just not there. So if the iPhone is going to be successful in the mid-range, you're going to expect people to pay $300 to $400 for this phone. You're going to have to be functional. It's going to have to be functional. It's going to have the hardware that denotes a mid-range phone. Now, right now, mid-range phones, minimum, I think, should still have, has to have a dual-core processor in it. You have to come with at least, I think, still 16 gigabytes of RAM. You don't have to have, like I said, a quad-core processor. Dual-core processor would be fine. 16 gigabytes of RAM would be fine. Applications need to still run on it. You know, some good applications. Some of them you can say, well, this won't run on the mid-range. It's only going to run on the high end. That's fine, but it needs to have enough. Functionality to be worth a mid-range price. So that's going to be tricky. We're going to have to see how Apple, they budget this phone. What kind of camera is it going to have? I mean, for a mid-range phone, I'm saying still 8 megapixel, 10 megapixel camera. You know, for a mid-range phone, because the high-end phones like the Galaxy S4, they have in the teens 18 megapixel cameras and stuff like that. And then with the new Nokia coming out at a 41 megapixel camera, mid-range has to have at least, I'm saying, a 10 megapixel camera. If it comes out with a 2 megapixel camera, 3 megapixel, it can have a 3 megapixel front-facing camera and then a 10 megapixel rear-facing camera. That will justify the $300 to $400 price range, along with dual-core and processor and a 16 gigabytes of storage on it, or if it has 8 gigabytes of storage, it has an SD card slot to allow you to expand it. That's a mid-range type phone. You know, these specs have to be definitely where people are going to want to spend $300 to $400. Because if I'm going to spend $300 to $400 on a phone, I definitely want to make sure that I'm going to get a decent phone that can last me at least a couple of years. At least last me, my contract size that I have, a 2-year contract. And most of these newer phones coming out, the high-end phones are lasting beyond the contract because they have so much functionality to them. So is Apple going to be successful? Well, based on their ability to use their ecosystem to sustain themselves, I would say yes, it would be, just like people thought the iPad mini wouldn't really sell at $329 to start. That's the iPad mini to start, and people are like, well, that's too high for a low-end tablet. That was Apple's low-end tablet when you had Google Nexus coming out at $199 and other tablets. Other tablets came out, $149, stuff like that. Good Android tablets were cheaper. That was Apple's low end, which is now looking to be a mid-range type tablet situation, and people flocked to it. People bought the iPad mini, and it's sold and it's selling, pretty well. So we're gonna have to wait and see how Apple does with this situation. I mean, are they able to make this mid-range category? And on the heels of that, we see that the iPhone 5, according to Bloomberg, has been pushed back. That's what they're saying. The iPhone 5 production, 5S anyway, has been pushed back, even though this latest report here by All Things D says that that the Apple 5S is on schedule for release. So it's going to be interesting to see what Apple does as far as what they release first. They're saying Apple may delay the introduction of the 5S due to trying to get this mid-range phone out there. Suppliers to Apple fell after the report with the Pentagon slumping 7% to 4750 as of 12:33 p.m. in Taipei. And they dropped 3.2% as well when the news came out that Apple was going to delay this handset. Now, the world's largest technology company hasn't released a new handset last year, iPhone 5, since last year's iPhone 5, while the Samsung has become the leader of the overall smartphone market with their 29% share of the market with just their Samsung Galaxy S line. So they're reporting that yes, Apple will delay the iPhone S, but are they delaying it because they want to focus on this mid-range phone? I think that would be a good thing for Apple if they can come up with a good mid-range phone. If they're just going to come out with another phone, the 5S, with just marginal updates and things like that, I still think they may get some sales, but at this time, it might be a better idea for Apple to focus on their mid-range phones, because there are a lot of people out there that want to buy iPhones, but they just don't want to spend that big money. So this could be profitable for Apple. Definitely, this could be profitable for Apple. Now, we're coming up on a break, but after the break, Google Glass gets its first virus or hack as far as internet type hack. Yes, it's gotten its first hack. And if you are interested in, you don't want to wait on Google to come out with their Google Glass, we have something else for you. The Recon Jet is ready for pre-order and shipping in December. This is the competitor to Google Glass. This thing is ready to come out. All of that and more. What is Google Glass? What are these things? We're going to talk about that coming up after the break right here on Tech Pulse. So just stay tuned right there to Tech Pulse. We'll be right back.